You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Hey Ramblers, today's episode is brought to you by Fangoria. Since 1979, Fangoria has been the authority in the world of contemporary horror. As the only sanctuary for horror aficionados in its early days, it has now grown into an empire that expands beyond its celebrated magazine. From t-shirts, coffee mugs, beanies, enamel pins, there's something for every horror fanatic in your world, even if it's you. So head on over to shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or use code pencil and paper productions at checkout to get 20% off your first order or magazine subscription. Yes, it is a mouthful, which is why there are links in the show notes down below. That's shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or code pencil and paper productions at checkout for 20% off. Fangoria, first in fright since 1979.
Buy it or we'll tear your soul apart.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Horror Ramblings podcast, everybody. You know this show. It's the show about all things horror, and the show that I am surprised that is almost to 100 episodes. We're right on the cusp, and it feels kind of good. Like, I don't know what it is. 100's a good number, and I'm just kind of excited about it. I'm also kind of excited about what we're talking about today, but we'll get to that. Before everything else, before we get started on this other subject, Stephen, how are you on this dreary November morning?
It's the day after Thanksgiving now, and oh my God, we're just so stuffed with turkey and foods because we're fat Americans and we just stuff our faces. But you know what? I love it. So kiss my ass. I would share my turkey and dressing with everybody if I could, but I don't know everybody, and it wouldn't all fit in my house. But point being, I'm trying to say is, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you had a great day. I hope you survived Black Friday, because that could be a nightmare scenario, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. If you've seen this movie, shut up. But yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, I love this time of year because I think it brings back some memories from the past. I don't really feel like I've had a bad Thanksgiving. I've not really had an amazing Thanksgiving, but they're always fun. And the food's always good, The food is always good.
I feel like it kind of brings, despite, you have families that have their issues, and, your one cousin or your one uncle or somebody random that shows up and they have a little too much to drink or this, that, or the other. But I feel like Thanksgiving's kind of slept on because it is one of those holidays where everybody's like, you know what, let's set our differences aside for a little bit and let's eat. Mm-hmm. And then you find some happiness in chit-chatting with family and everything. So I'm with you there. Like, I don't think I've had a bad Thanksgiving.
No.
Have I had one that's just blown my mind? Not necessarily. No. But and I love your reference to the movie that you made. So I told you this off mic, but I have a request.
Okay.
It's a simple request. It's just because I enjoy listening to you doing voices. And I would love to hear your impression of a turkey as a celebrity. And if you're not thinking I want to know what celebrity you're thinking at first, okay, because I have a particular one I would love for you to do. But I would love to hear you do like maybe 2 or 3, but a celebrity as a turkey.
A celebrity as a turkey.
Who do you think?
I mean, first things first, because he's always right there on the tip of my tongue, is Christopher Walken. Because
that's who I was going to ask you for.
Because gobble gobble, it's turkey. They go gobble 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 gobble. It makes a sound kind of like that, but it's not quite that. It's more like it's more in your tongue. But gobble gobble, that's what they say.
The gobble gobble was what I wanted.
Gobble gobble.
I wanted to hear a gobble gobble. I'm a turkey. Like, I don't know why, but that's what I wanted to hear.
I'm a turkey. I'm here for your Thanksgiving. Anyway. Yes.
I think him the three funniest people I can think of as turkeys are Christopher Walken, which you just did, Captain Kirk.
Gobble, gobble, Spock. Do we have turkey?
Like I could just hear him being like, "Beam me up, they're coming for my giblets." I don't know why.
Spock, they're coming for my giblets. He did talk like this. I don't give a fuck what anyone says, but if you pay attention, he did. Because he would be just like, Spock, what is happening here?
And if you don't believe that, listen to the man sing.
You live like common people. We all live like common people do. Like you and me and you and you. What are we
Not
going
gonna
to
lie. Listening to him sing changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, it's something. It's something. That's all I'm going to say.
And the only other person that I would love to see as a turkey, and I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of, but apparently there's a theme here now.
Mhm.
And I'll see if you get this one just from what I'm going to say. But he's just a turkey hanging out, thinking that he's going to be fine. They lay his head down and they get out the cleaver. And right before they whack, he looks up and he goes, "Oh, my."
Oh, my.
George Takei as a turkey. I love everything about it. But I had to get the walking out of you. I just, for some reason, I don't know what it was. I was watching this movie that we're going to talk about today. I was watching it last night, and I don't know what it was. I think it was the scene at the end. There's like a credit scene. It's just like a blooper from the movie, and I don't know why, but seeing him do that, for some reason, I was like, I could see Christopher Walken doing something like that, just to be funny.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my God, Christopher Walken as a turkey. I need this. So I appreciate that. You helped me to scratch an itch that I had.
Whatever I can do to help.
So, oh man. I want to bring up one other random thing before we hop in. I know you probably have some news stuff, but I know we've been we've not really discussed it like a ton, but we've talked about Ghostface being in Mortal Kombat and how it just felt like he didn't belong.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really dig it though, from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, same.
Like his lines are really funny, and everything else. I guess when they unmask him, they don't have Stu. They have Billy.
Oh.
Like Billy is the main Ghostface
Gotcha.
in this, and when like Ghostface gets unmasked, it's Billy. They do make reference to Stu, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And just some of the lines that he says, like he makes movie references. He talks to one character and he's like, "What are you, from Tokyo Ghoul?" Or it's like Tokyo Gore Police. It's one of those films. And then even like his conversation with Omni-Man, I really like. He's like, "What do you look like you're going trick or treating?" And he's like, that mask and knife aren't going to work on me. And he's like, "They worked on your wife." Like, I love that.
Yeah.
And when he asks if he likes scary movies, he's like, "Fuck movies. I prefer a good book." I'm like, come on. And I was waiting to see what his lines were going to be with, oh Lord, movie star.
Johnny Cage.
Terrible with character names. Johnny Cage, thank you. It was right there on the tip of my tongue, and I'm like, who is it? I can't remember. His lines with Johnny Cage make me laugh. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but they make movie references, and he's like, "Finally, somebody gets the game." And I'm like, thank you. Like, that's what I needed. So I'm digging it. I hope that, I know they do like, downloadable skins and stuff. I hope they get a hold of Matthew Lillard and they're like, "Hey, can we actually, have it to where when the mask comes off, you could be there and make it random?"
Sure.
I think that would be cool. I think that would be like really badass. But yeah, I'm going to take back what I said of Ghostface not belonging. I feel like Ghostface does belong here because he's not taking he's taking it serious, but he's having fun. And they've not really put that in this regard, I think, in the game. I know they've had like the Joker and characters that don't take it that serious, but they feel a little more like they belong there. So
Sure, yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna say that, like, if you don't get the chance to watch Ghostface, look it up on YouTube, because I started looking it up and they even make a Freddy reference, which is hilarious. So yeah, I wanted to put that out there into the universe.
Sure, yeah.
But you have any news that you'd like to share before we hop in today?
I actually do, and before I go down those rabbit holes, a lot of what you were talking about, there were some things that popped up I wanted to touch on. First thing, since you talked about Star Trek, or you made mention of Shatner, I don't know if you saw this week, and this isn't really horror related, but still, it's a... I want to bring it up because I want people to take a look at it and take note, because we have mentioned this technology. So there was some, I guess Star Trek Day was recently. I don't know. I'm not big into, like, I like Star Trek, but I don't follow it religiously, so to speak. So I wouldn't know when Star Trek Day is. But there was a short that came out that was kind of paying homage to Shatner and Spock. And it was supposed to be done in this way where it's like a follow-up to Generations. And then you see Shatner, I guess, maybe passing on into the next life or something like that. So you see different versions of him at different points in time. And it's all done with what looks to be a de-aged William Shatner. What I found out is they used that technology like they had in Halloween Kills for Loomis, where they did the prosthetic makeup, and did that with actor Sam Witwer, who people might know as, what would people know him from? He's one of those actors that you know, but I feel like
his name even sounds familiar to me.
I know he played Darth Maul in the new, like, after, what the fuck is his name? The stunt man, you know, like he was the voice of Darth Maul in like the Clone Wars and shit like that, and he was even the Dark Jedi or the Dark Vader's apprentice.
He did the voice.
Yeah, you remember Vader's apprentice in that game, The Force Unleashed?
Yeah, the one that was so powerful that they decided to make him not canon.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was in. Just looking at his filmography real quick, he was in Supergirl. He was in Smallville. He was Doomsday in Smallville. He was in Dexter. He was in The Mist.
He's very talented. Yeah. I know him more for his voice work.
If you look at him, you'll see his face and be like, oh yeah, shit, yeah. But if you search his name right now, you'll see an Instagram post and it'll say Sam Witwer Star Trek short unification, and you'll see this picture of him made up like William Shatner, and I swear to Christ, you would be hard pressed to tell me that is not William Shatner. Okay? Yeah. It's pretty fucking impressive.
I'm just going to say this. Instead of spending all this money to de-age, let actors play these people. Like, just let them. Like, I have another one I want to point out. There is a movie coming out, and this is not horror related either. There's a movie coming out called Waltzing with Brando. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen anything on this. Billy Zane is playing Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Have you seen the pictures of that?
I saw the trailer and everything. Fucking mind-blowing.
It is. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Like, he looks just like him. And I don't care what anybody says. I think it's really useful. I think there's a lot of characters that you could bring back. It's just like with the Freddy thing. I truly feel like they could find an actor to work closely with Robert Englund to capture that magic.
Yeah.
Make him look like Robert. See if Robert Englund wants to do just certain scenes, maybe where there's certain close-ups of Freddy where we want to hear Freddy talk, we want to see like a little more. But look at what they've done with these films. Mm-hmm. You know, the film you're talking about, the Billy Zane film about Brando, the Halloween film, you know, how long has, and I loved him as an actor, how long had he been dead when they did Halloween? He died back in the 90s?
In the 90s, like right after Halloween 5 or 6 came out, I'm sorry.
And they brought him back, and a lot of people thought they used deleted scenes. Mm-hmm. That's how good it was, and it's amazing. It's just some prosthetics and the right lighting, and you hire a voice actor if the person doesn't sound like the person that you're trying to do. I mean, come on, it's a lot cheaper, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and it looks so much better.
Now, what I will say in regards to that short that I am referencing, I'm not going to give it the full package of compliments, because what they did, and I felt like was a disservice to the makeup department, is they also face swapped with William Shatner. So there's this weird kind of uncanny valley sometimes when you're looking at it, because it looks genuine, and then he turns a certain way, or he never speaks. That's the other thing too, which is probably smart. But if he looks a certain way, or if he turns a certain direction, it looks off. So I don't know why they didn't allow the makeup to just do its job and maybe enhance it ever so slightly, because it's like you did all this work to make him look like Shatner, and then you put another face on top of it. It's like, well, then you completely missed the point.
Well, and the thing is even if you're doing it with a de-aged, you know, even if you're de-aging Shatner, even if the guy looks just slightly different without the effects, I don't think that takes people out of it, because let's be real. Depending on what point of Captain Kirk's life that is, he might look exactly how this guy was looking.
And they did.
You know?
They did 3 different points in time for Shatner, because it was like OG from the original series, then like a film version, and then an older film version. So it's like you had 3 sets of points in time for Shatner in Star Trek or something like that.
And let's be real, if you're doing an older Shatner, he's not gonna look like the real Shatner anyways. No. I don't know if anybody's seen Shatner. Shatner's like 93 years old, and dude looks like he's in his 50s.
But I mean, if you saw that, you'd think he was back to being youthful. It's pretty impressive regardless. But what I'm more impressed with, and what I wanted to call attention to, was the makeup effects. Whoever did the makeup effects, if it's the same people who did Halloween Kills, or if it's an entirely different group altogether, I don't give a shit. That technology, I'm loving, and I want to see it more. Because, like you said, this would be an easy, effective way to kind of revive a character that you might have thought you'd never see again. And I know that you kind of get into that weird section where you're just like, well, you're reviving dead actors. But if you're applying makeup to an actor and allowing them to play the character, then you're only reviving the character with a new actor looking like the actor. And I feel like that's fair.
And that's the thing, like, I know, I believe it was Alien Romulus revived somebody with CGI.
Okay, don't spoil that for me.
I'm not going to. That's all I know. I don't know the whole thing. But I'm with you in that regard. Give living actors work. Don't just slap on some whole other element of CGI to it, because to me it's like this. The studio's completely in charge when it's a CGI actor. They can do whatever. That actor can't give them a tip and be like, hey, maybe I should do the line like this. Maybe I should do it like that. They can't do improv. And a lot of movies, some of the best things in them are because the person playing that character has been like, hey, I want to do this, or I think we should do it this way. So it makes it a little more disingenuous.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm with you there. I think that they should do the practical effects. Like we've talked about it though, practical effects with a little bit of CGI to help polish it up a little bit. Why not? Like, that's fine.
Yeah, whatever it takes. I don't know. It's pretty impressive stuff, and I'd like to see more of it utilized, because it's just amazing. I mean, like I said, go search those pictures, Sam Witwer, Captain Kirk, and tell me if you can tell a difference, because you'd be hard pressed, I think. Another thing too, and I feel like maybe we've talked about this, but I just wanted to bring it up again just in case we haven't, because I saw a clip of it last night, and I was just like, I kind of want to check this out. Did we ever talk about it seems to be a free fan-made game called Rise of the Boogeyman, the Terror Drone?
I feel like we have.
I thought we had too, but I just wanted to be sure. This is like a fighting game, but with every slasher. So you can fight as Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, Chucky, Ghostface, the Tall Man, everybody. It's just like, and it plays it feels kind of like Killer Instinct or maybe like the old Street Fighter game, not the OG Street Fighter game, but Street Fighter the movie, where they did that. We're trying to make people look real, but it looks shitty at the same time. I don't know. I saw clips of it on YouTube, and the way it looked, and it's free to play. You can download it. I kind of want to play it just to see a fight that I've always wanted to see.
What is it available on?
Just PC right now.
Just PC?
Yeah. Again, fan-made, free PC game, because they can't legally sell it, I'm sure.
I would love to see. I don't know. I'm thinking back to when Samantha made that list for us of like really random horror characters, and we like if they fought or if they joined forces. I really want to see a Candyman versus Freddy fight. I don't know why.
See, I bet. I didn't even look at that, but Candyman's got to be in there. Has to be. As far as the roster you're fighting. I'm going to pull it up real quick, see what they got. Characters, Terradrome, Reign of the Legends is what it's called. Looks like they've got classic characters like, the Wolfman and the Frankenstein monster and shit. I'm going down a little bit. Oh, wait. I don't know. They've got this shit sorted out in all sorts of ways. A Sasquatch? What the hell? A demon? Another thing? Bloody Mary? What the hell is all this? Where are all the other ones? Dracula? Wendigo? Okay. Something's happened here.
If I don't see Mothman in fishnets, I don't know.
Maybe there's another thing to this because there's a whole bunch of other characters too. I don't know. I'll have to keep looking. It's in here somewhere. But point being, let's talk about some news. I got some news for you. Did we talk about this last week? Because I don't think we did. I don't think I brought it up. But apparently Warner Brothers, the company ran by a man who doesn't understand movies, is apparently green-lighting a remake of a 1950s movie that no one remembers except for people like us, called Forbidden Planet, okay? Why? I don't know. We can't get Coyote vs. Acme, but we're going to get a fucking remake of Forbidden Planet. Great. I'm not knocking it. For if you think you're like, how dare you? I'm just saying, think about it for a moment. We're going to remake a movie no one remembers, as opposed to releasing an original movie concept around characters we all know and love. And that's a gamble, but this is okay. I'm
still pissed about Coyote versus Acme, and I'm actually pissed off still about the I believe it was a Batwoman movie or Batgirl with Brendan Fraser. Yep. And he said that it was amazing. They filmed it. It's just sitting collecting dust.
Now, I will say this. For anybody who, because I'm sure we've talked about this on the show before, our ire for David Zaslav and his fucking stupid ass. But I was listening to podcasts this week with, it's Jim Cummings' podcast, Tuned In, and he was talking to Eric Balza, who's the current Bugs Bunny. Motherfucker is a voice acting phenom because holy shit does he sound like Mel Blanc. It's amazing. So he was talking about it because he apparently did 14 voices in Coyote versus Acme. You know, so if your work is going to go unnoticed, I'd be a little pissed too. So he started talking about the legal ramifications of this. And he said, now, while they did write it off as a tax break,
yeah,
if they wanted to release it, they could, or somebody could come in and buy it from them and release it. However, what has to happen is they have to pay the money back to the government for the tax write-off. So, there's that. It's not impossible that we will never see it, but there's caveats.
Someone would probably have to buy it for enough for them to make a profit and pay what they got for their write-off.
Yeah, and something's telling me, because I was hearing when a lot of this shit started stirring up, they were just like, well, no, we're not tax writing it off. We're shopping it around. Yeah. And something tells me they'd already done the tax write-off. And yeah, because they wouldn't budge on a price tag. It was like set in stone. This is the price tag we take and nothing less. And these studios were like, well, what if this is like, no. So something tells me they had it set. If you pay this amount, that covers us. That covers our tax break or whatever. And we get our money back. No harm, no foul. And people can take off with it. But no one is wanting to meet us where we want, so fuck you, we're not doing it. And that's why it's still sitting on a shelf.
The only place I could see maybe getting it, and I hate to say this because I have my problems with them too, but Netflix seems to buy things when there's a lot of drama around things, because I think Netflix understands if I buy this with all the drama around it, people will be like, oh, yeah, here we go. Just like that god-awful Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Were you going to reference that?
Yes. Look.
Yet, you know.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I hear what people saying, but I've just heard things. I've heard things. I'm not going to say a damn thing, but I just don't.
I'm just going to say this. Mike got paid a lot of money just to sit there and goof off.
And not give it, and he don't have to give a shit about his legacy. He don't give a shit about no legacy with nobody, because he was talking to this little kid. She asked him about his legacy. He said, I don't give a shit about my legacy. What kind of legacy do I have? I ain't got no legacy. And you know why he said that? Because he knew he was going to get the shit kicked out of him by Jake Paul.
I just thought of Mike Tyson as a turkey too now.
Gobble, gobble. There ain't no lift in turkey going gobble, gobble, but, you know, if I could do it that way if we need to. Hey, did you know, I want your opinion on this little news headline.
Okay.
Would you be upset if the next Ghostbuster film did not contain the original Ghostbusters?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'm kind of, years back I had heard that they had a plan for all of the originals to come back and basically train a new generation. We were gonna have like Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen and like some of the big names of comedy at that time were going to become Ghostbusters. And that never happened. And they sort of did it here with these, you know, newer ones that they've done in a sense. But I wish that they would pass the torch down because I love the characters. But at the same time, I understand them wanting to kind of step away.
Yeah.
Like, I do get that. I hope that they make reference to them at least.
Yeah.
I know I had seen an article about Dan Aykroyd said he probably wouldn't be returning to Ghostbusters. And that's fine. You know, nothing lasts forever. But
to be fair, I would have been
go
all
ahead.
right with Dan Aykroyd and maybe even Ernie Hudson, you know, just the two of them being the guys, you know, that just pop up every now and again. They don't have to have substantial roles, but
yeah,
I don't mind them just being there. Like, that's what I kind of liked about Dan Aykroyd's role in the last film, is he kind of seemed to be that guy that they hung out with because he was a Ghostbuster and he's got his own little shop, and then it's where they go to research, you know, and now they've got their own Ghostbusters facility and all that shit. I mean, you've set up a way to expand this world into something larger. So I'm not against them not being there. I just don't want them to be forgotten. Just like, if you can find a way to put them in the movie and it's works for the narrative, do it. Don't just do it just to be like, hey, look who it is. Yeah, I've seen them. I got it. I know they're there, you know, but does it serve the story or not? That's all I'm asking. Because I don't feel like Bill Murray served any story for anything when he did the last two cameos. Like, I'm here. I got a paycheck.
I would even love to see like a and this might sound like some washed up trope or something. I would almost like to see like a Ghostbusters Academy.
Yeah.
Maybe do a time jump, and we've got kids that are learning how to be Ghostbusters from people that we've never heard of, but we understand that they've actually been Ghostbusters for a while. And then maybe at one point in the film make reference to the original Ghostbusters and be like, yeah, they're retired, or this character died or something, or maybe even have a joke. I would love to have like a joke where maybe the kids save the city and they're like, shit, we're late for class, and they go to class and their professor turns and it's Bill Murray. He's their professor. Like, I think that would be kind of cool. You know, it'd be a different angle. We'd have like really inexperienced kids. Maybe bring the kids back from these last Ghostbuster films. Like, you know, I get that things have to move forward, things have to change, and I'm fine with those changes happening. Just set up something solid out of it.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm the same way. As long as it serves the story well, I don't mind seeing them. You know, it's not about that. It's just, are they important to the story being there? If so, put them in the movie. I'm fine with it. You know.
Plus, I'm just gonna say this: Dan Aykroyd had one of my favorite cameos ever as a Ghostbuster, and it was in Casper.
No.
Just gonna say. But at the rate movies are going now, we're gonna get like Fast and Furious 17. The Ghostbusters help take down ghost cars.
Ghost cars.
And there's a dinosaur for some reason.
Wow. Javier Bardem is going to star in a Cape Fear TV series from Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese. So
I can get behind that. I love Javier Bardem. I do.
What I'm curious about is who he's going to play. Is he going to be the psychopath, or is he going to be the dad? Because I could see him doing both. You know,
he does have that range.
He does. So I'm down for either.
I'm trying to think of what I just saw him in.
Yeah, what did we see him in? He's popped up in something here recently.
Now I know he's in No Country for Old Men. I know he's in that that show that's on Netflix about the brothers.
Oh, the Menendez. Yeah.
He's in that. Let's put it this way: I know him from No Country for Old Men. That was one of the first movies that I had ever seen him in. We went and watched a movie called Lyle Lyle Crocodile like a year or two ago, and there was this really hilarious and just insane magician who sang and everything else in it. Kind of a scudsball in part of it, but then he fixes his act. That was also Javier Bardem. Nice. So the dude has range. I will say that. He has a lot of range.
That's right.
I would love to see who he's going to play in this, because he's just an interesting guy. I would love to see him in more horror stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Anywho,
Ryan Kruger's Street Trash movie is available now on digital. I'm kind of excited. Ryan Kruger's the guy that did Fried Barry, and the guy that was Fried Barry was in the movie and looked just like him, and I was like, oh shit, are they doing like a Fried Barry cameo on this shit? I don't know that for certain, but it was fun because as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh shit, there's a dude. So, I don't know if you've heard anything about this. I'm not very familiar with the original. I know I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. He said that this, as they're calling it a remake, he claims to see this as a sequel, as opposed to a remake. So I'm looking forward to it because I like the dude. I think he's got some good work. He's creative, so looking forward to that. And Seven's coming to 4K for its 30th anniversary. So if you're looking to get yourself a solid 30 years, can you believe it?
it's been that long? Wow.
Oh shit! I feel like I remember these. Have you ever heard of Horror Decor? Or
Yes.
the Horror Buddies line?
Yeah.
They're being discontinued. So if you haven't got
Of course
one,
they are.
you might want to get one now. Yeah, I do remember these.
I feel like I have one. Horror Buddies, you said?
Yep, Horror Buddies. Let's see. They are going to be discontinued at the end of the year. So if you don't have one, get one now. If that's your thing. I'm warning you now.
I had one of these. It got ruined, but I did have one of these. There's a Freddy one right there. I'm looking at them right now. I need to. They'll even have keychains. Well,
We've got, I don't know if this feels like a new one. A new one. I think we've got a third Mickey Mouse slasher film on the horizon now. Because there's this new trailer for a movie called Mouse of Horrors. Now, wasn't the other one like Steamboat Willie or Steamboat Mouse or whatever the fuck? And
I think the Steamboat one's not out yet, I don't think. That one is from the people that did like Terrifier, which I know this sounds weird. I'm going to give that one a chance.
Okay.
Because they're actually doing him as like, it's not a guy in a mask, it's actually some like creature.
Mm-hmm. Well, this
So I kind of like
this looks like that, like a creature, like just from the picture I'm looking at. So I don't know if they're the same
could
thing
be.
or not, but it's called Mouse of Horrors according to this.
I'll be honest with you. The other day, while I was working at home, I put on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just watch some movies that are probably terrible. I'll have them on in the background while I'm working. And I watched a movie called Mousetrap, where this guy gets possessed by a old Mickey Mouse mask, and he goes on a killing spree
Oh yeah.
in an arcade. The killer can teleport and all this other crazy shit. The one girl that's in it, the one like main girl in it, not a bad actress, liked her. They don't explain a lot about the character. It's yeah.
All right.
Oh man, yeah. Still looking to watch Blood and Honey 2 because I'm gonna see how that is because everybody seemed to love it and
Really fucking
It's
weird
like we've-
too. That
it's like we've said. Sometimes a film is garbage, but it's hot garbage, and you just can't get enough of it.
Mhm.
So maybe that's what this is. But I'm going to be a little bit more resistant to the Mickey Mouse horror films.
Sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just there's too many of them, and the expanse of this idea is growing. I'll explain when we get there. There's a new film from the guy who directed Train to Busan coming to Netflix called Revelations. So it might be something to keep our eyes on. I don't know what it's about. I'm not going to look into it right now. I just saw Train to Busan filmmaker Revelations Netflix. I'm connecting dots. There you go, people. Yellow Jacket Season 3 will premiere on Valentine's Day next year. If you're looking forward to that, I am. I've kind of enjoyed it. Have you watched Yellow Jackets?
I haven't, but I've seen a lot of clips from it. It is something that's on my watch list. So
Yeah, it's something else. I'll say that. So I'm intrigued to see where the story goes, and I'm hoping that the narrative pays off well and doesn't like leave you kind of like oh by the end of it. You know what I mean? Because I
Right.
can kind of see that being a possibility, but maybe not. Who knows? Speaking of killers or characters who were never killers, but now they're suddenly becoming killers, Ebenezer Scrooge is now on that list because there is now a new slasher coming out called The Naughty List of Ebenezer Scrooge, or Mr. Scrooge, I'm sorry. He's wearing a big droopy mask that looks like an old man. That looks familiar as something. It looked like a typical slasher movie. Like when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, there was nothing about it that blew my mind, I guess.
Speaking of beloved characters, set to come out in 2025, Popeye the Slayer Man.
Yeah, that was the other one I was going to get to, because that's one of two, okay? One of two that I've heard of this week. There was another one, and I don't remember if it was just called Popeye, or I feel like it had a different name. Like it was under a different name, but it was going to be about Popeye being a killer. And then this one came out saying, okay, this is also yet another Popeye-related horror film, but he's going to be like a big focus of the movie.
Here's the thing. Some characters would make great horror characters or like more adult movies. Popeye, I'll admit, Popeye could work depending on what angle they go from. Yeah. I will give any movie a chance. You could take the Teletubbies and make it a horror movie, and I would give it a chance as long as it seemed like it was a interesting idea.
Sure.
Apparently there's a trailer for this movie. I've not watched the trailer yet for this Popeye movie. I love what the storyline is. It says a curious group of friends sneak into an abandoned spinach canning factory to film a documentary on the legend of the Sailor Man, who is said to haunt the factory and local docks.
All right.
You know what would make this movie work if they took some notes from Hatchet,
okay, and
just made it a gore fest of a just angry Popeye spirit going around killing everyone. I think that would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to watch the trailer later and just see.
Yeah,
but
I need to look at the
trailer.
trailer.
This is getting insane. The new horror movie of Pinocchio that's coming out. They got Robert Englund, and I can never remember his name. They got Robert Englund and oh man,
I saw who it was too, and for the love of Christ, I can't remember either.
It's escaping me. Yeah. He was in 31. He's been in a bunch of movies.
Richard Brake.
Thank you. Phenomenal actors to put in the film. We'll see what happens.
We definitely will.
Oh, man.
Where were we? Mortal Kombat 2 has been rated R for strong, bloody violence and gore, even though we haven't seen a trailer for it. I'm curious why it's already been rated and we haven't seen shit, but it's not like we could figure it's anything else. Like, duh. We know it's going to be fucking bloody as shit. I just hope it's good.
What did you think of the first one? Like, in all honesty. Like, did you hate it? Did you think it was meh?
It was meh, because you did all this setup, and where's the story? Where's the fucking tournament? You did all this setup, and you added a fucking character we didn't need. Why are we following some nobody who's not a fucking character in the games when you have all these characters from the games? Like, this should have been Liu Kang we're following, not fucking Scorpion's half-nephew or whatever the fuck from wherever.
And they never ended up putting a character like him in the game, did they?
No, because you don't need it.
You would have thought that after they did the movie, they'd have been like, maybe we should put a character like that in the game.
There's already enough wasted characters in the fucking franchise. They don't need to create more.
True.
So yeah, it made me so angry, because it was just a waste of, like, what the fuck is happening? And you had so many good little moments in there, like the beginning, like that whole opening with Scorpion. Holy shit, that was amazing, and I had high hopes.
Oh yeah.
And then it just fell off, and it's like we're just setting up the table for later, and it's like, okay, but I would like a movie if you could.
What was the one video game that was on Sega? It was a fighting game. You could fight as different kinds of monsters. I think there were some humans in it, but it's like a one-off game.
What all could you do in there? Because I could probably pull and remember.
The best way I can describe it, the characters almost looked claymation-like. I cannot remember the name of the game.
There was one called Clay Fighter, but it wasn't graphic.
It wasn't that.
There was another one that I think, was it graphic? Like, could you cut limbs and shit off?
I think it was kind of graphic. And remember the big old handheld system that you had to put like 6 AA batteries in? They had it for that too, because I remember playing it. And it had a really cool opening.
Shit, I don't know.
I'm going to look it up, see if I can find it.
But you keep digging. I'm going to continue with some news.
Yes, keep going.
Another rating, Nosferatu, rated R for bloody violence and graphic nudity, which As I understand it, graphic nudity means we're going to see a penis.
Oh my.
Or we're just going to see a lot of naked people. I don't know. Graphic, it's like all up in your face. But typically when I see graphic, it means there's going to be a dick swinging around somewhere. So
I might be remembering a little wrong. I think it was Primal Rage.
Primal Rage, yes.
There's something I could use a movie or two of.
Yeah, that was a wild ass game. That was definitely during that time where everybody was trying to see how far you could push it. And that game had a finisher where one of the characters pissed on your body. And I remember it got edited for the home console because they were like, no, we can't do that. And I was like, but why? I mean, you got these other games where people are getting their heads cut off and you can't piss on. All right, whatever.
Is that considered graphic nudity?
Maybe. We got our first real teaser for Alien Earth, and there seemed to be a slight thing in there that just kind of confused me, man, because there was a date, and I didn't look it up, and I'm gonna have to look it up now. The date seemed to suggest this was pre-Alien. I don't know that for certain. That's why I'm checking. I gotta see the date. What was the date on Alien? Like when they were out there. Here we go. Distant future. God damn you! Why can't you give me a date, you son of a bitch? God.
Well, if we remember at the end of, was it Prometheus?
Yeah.
The facehuggers that we know were created, and one of the first aliens was born.
Yeah.
So what if Alien Earth was?
Here we go. Haha. Yeah.
Their planet.
Okay. This is the contradiction, but maybe it makes sense when we watch the show. The original Alien movie takes place in 2122. The trailer suggests the year is 2120. So 2 years prior to them, well, they were out there for a while, were they not? Like when we
I believe
kind of
so.
picked up on them, so they could have been out there for a few years already. So, I don't know.
What were the aliens called? The humanoid aliens called? Were they called the engineers?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe it's that one of those planets had gotten completely taken over, and that's Alien Earth, possibly.
And so I wonder if Alien Earth is going to piggyback off of Covenant, because looking at this, they say Covenant takes place only 18 years after or before Alien. So you've got this window of time you can play with, but you also can't cause any kind of plot holes or discrepancies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep an eye on that. But it was very interesting that when I saw the date, I was like, something about that didn't seem right. And so I was right. So it's 2 years off. All right. Man, I can't wait for this. And I just want to bring this up because I don't think I've mentioned it here, but I'm looking forward to this series. There's a show coming out on Amazon in next month called Secret Level. And it's I think they're short stories or animated character stories. I don't remember what the fuck. But each episode is based off of a video game. Okay? Like, the story is crafted around a concept. So, like, I've seen Mega Man on there, which I'm really excited about. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm excited. I've seen God of War, all this other stuff. The one I wanted to bring this up, because I read this, apparently Tim Miller, who he directed the original Deadpool, and I think he did a few other kind of action comedy kind of stuff. He is directing or involved with one episode that reimagines Pac-Man, and the ghosts are carnivorous monsters. So, kind of looking forward to that.
I've heard about this show. They compared it to Love, Death, and Robots. They said it's like Love, Death, and Robots, but with video games.
Yeah.
I am actually really excited for it. There's apparently a scene where Kratos might end up in like modern day New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't know about the Pac-Man thing. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that.
I'm looking forward to it. It seems like it would be a fun time just to see interpretations of these things. As long as because I guess that's where I'm a little iffy about it. It's how far away and how true to the character are we playing with these concepts, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm hoping they pay proper homage to them while maybe doing their own thing. You know, you have to have that balance, especially if you're saying this is based on blank. At least I feel like you should. exciting news. I'm kind of excited because I love a good documentary. I don't know about the rest of you. And I can't wait because this past week, for Thanksgiving, oh man, it was documentaries all day. Got the doc of Chucky, that big 4-hour fucking documentary or whatever they got on Shudder. I don't remember how long it was. It was just so damn long, but I'm excited. Documentaries. Got another one coming out in January. George A. Romero's Resident Evil is coming out in January of 2025. This will be the story of what was going to be George Romero's version of Resident Evil, because he was going to direct the first movie, and something happened where it fell through and it just didn't happen, and he got booted from the project, or he walked away. I don't remember which one it was. I think he walked away, but it just kind of left you wondering. It's like, why the fuck would you not want the man to direct your Resident Evil movie? I mean, come on. So I'm anxious to hear how that story plays out, because I've heard the rumors, but apparently this guy who did the documentary, did the research, did the investigations, got all the details, the nitty gritty, and finally going to get our answers. So I'm excited. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I guess I got to bring this up. So I think we're getting a clear picture on what Scream 7 is going to look like, because now we have a new character being introduced into the fold, but it's a character that, if you think about it, I guess she would have at this point. Sidney Prescott has a daughter that we didn't know about, apparently. And she's going to be portrayed by Isabel May, whom I don't know if anybody would know her from anything here. I have seen her once before. She was in the show on Paramount Plus called 1888 or 1883. It's the Yellowstone and shit, where the cowboys and stuff. And she was like the main character in that. She's kind of the narrator and whatever. So she's a great actress. So I'm not knocking her at all for being in this. It's a job. She's probably looking for work right now. It's fine. It's the movie that I'm kind of like, because it feels like it's got studio prints on it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Just like the studio.
Feels like a money grab.
Yeah, like studios just put their
really what it is.
grubby, greasy ass hands all over it, and it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna make money on this, and you're not gonna make anything.
Sydney. Just kill her.
Anything. And then
if they have the balls to do that, I will probably watch it.
But then you're going to be passing the torch on to the daughter, and then you're just going to be like, well, now this is what? It's a cursed family now? I mean, come on, man. That was the beauty of the last two, is you moved away. You got some new characters, for God's sakes, man. I know, we've gone on and on about it. Guillermo del Toro, his Frankenstein movie is underway, man. I've seen behind-the-scenes pics. It's looking interesting, and I feel like it's going to be fucking amazing, because this is a guy who has openly talked about his love for the character. So that passion, and we can see what the man does as a filmmaker. Shit, dude. I feel like he's got, you know what? That's funny that I'm even thinking about that now. The story of Frankenstein. There was a, I don't know if I mentioned it here on something else. Short Circuit 2. I know it's a random pull, but in that movie, he's trying to grapple with the identity of what it means to be human, right? The robot. Johnny Five, for those who are in the know. And he goes to a bookstore and he digs out these books, and you see him he's like, I've got to read these two very carefully. And as we see in the movie, he's always speed reading and shit. I'm trying to get through this with some context, so just bear with me here. But then we never see what the books are until later, like after he's like in this sad, deep, depressed state, and then we see that the books were Pinocchio and Frankenstein. And I find that fascinating, that Guillermo del Toro seems fascinated with these two characters that are intertwined in some way, as those characters that want to know what it means to be human.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Just that connection for those two characters, Guillermo del Toro, and just, I don't know. Fun stuff. Megan is also underway, Megan 2.0. So apparently they've been seeing some behind the scenes shots of the new Megan, or Mithrigan. She looks like Megan, so there's nothing new. I don't know what they're planning on doing or what they're trying to impress us with. This is something that I saw last night, and I didn't know what the fuck it was, and now I kind of want to go back and look at it. It was a trailer I saw when I was flipping through YouTube the other day, and it was called Night of the Zoopocalypse. Didn't think shit about it. I thought, is this some kind of, DreamWorks, Disney, whatever? I don't know. Just something about it wasn't calling my name to check it out. However, reading this description right here, it says the teaser for this movie lets loose mutants in a zoo in a, quote, Clive Barker-inspired animated feature. Now, if that's not something I never thought I'd read, I'm going to go check this out now because Clive Barker-inspired, I wouldn't mind seeing what that might be.
If it's Clive Barker, you were talking about it, and I'm looking it up now, and even some of the pictures I'm seeing could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, could be. So I don't, I guess, judge books by their cover, unless it's Matt Gaetz, and then you can judge all day. Pedophile. Anyway, hey, what else we want to talk about here? Yeah, Popeye the Slayer, man. Jesus Christ. This dude is he swole, or did they just do makeup? Like, god damn, he's just a big motherfucker. Oh, I thought this was fun. Killer Clowns, the game, they're going to create playable characters out of the concept sketches that the Chiodo brothers did of the clown. So you get to see the originals, as it were. So I'm excited about that. I thought that'd be kind of fun. And then finally, Speak No Evil, the remake with James McAvoy, which looked pretty good. I need to check that out. I probably need to check out the original too. It's going to be dropping on Peacock next month in December. So if you're looking forward to that, keep your eyes open. I don't know when. I could probably click on it. I want to click on this and find out and see if there's a date. Should I do that? Should I do that for the people?
Maybe.
I mean, it's right there.
Maybe.
I can click on it. December 6th. How about that? So next week, if you're listening to this, next Friday. So there you go. If you're listening to this today on the day it came out, then next Friday. So there you go. I'm excited. I'll check it out. And that means I won't have to re-up my Peacock again. That pissed me off. You know what? I was sitting there thinking about that shit today, or the other day. I was like, I've been trying to cut back on the subscriptions, right? And I was like, I'm going to cut back on the ones that we don't really watch, whatever. I was like, all right, so Peacock will go first. I love Peacock, don't get me wrong, but if I'm not watching anything on there right now, I'm going to cancel it. So I was like, all right, that'll be the first to go. It'll be fine. And sure enough, the fucking week I cancel it, what came out? A movie that my wife wanted to watch, Twisters. And I was like, son of a bitch. So I had to re-up. Fine. Then go to cancel another one. Netflix. Why? Because, we watched everything. We were trying to get rid of it. And then we were like, all right, we're good. Finally finished everything. And then what happened? Needed to watch a movie for today. What? What platform is it on? Netflix? Fuck you. All the way off. I should have just bought it. I probably would have came out cheaper in the long run. But I got Netflix for a month, so again, I still better make use of it. God damn it.
You know how many movies I've bought recently because I'm like, I don't want to pay for another subscription.
No, and I get it too, because even today, like, all right, so great example, because right now Black Friday sales are abound, like they're everywhere, right? One thing that Katrina and I were sitting there talking about the other day, because I can't remember what we were watching, but we were looking at some Lord of the Rings shit or something like that was being talked about. Oh, I remember what it was. We were watching like a video from Mr. Sunday Movies on YouTube, and they were reviewing The Fellowship of the Ring. And they were just talking about it. And I haven't seen The Fellowship of the Ring in, I don't remember when. It's been a while, because they're long movies, and they can, you got to set time aside. This is an epic. This will take all day. And we were kind of watching that, and I was like, you know what? We ought to watch The Lord of the Rings again. I wouldn't mind revisiting that, and especially if we're going to be off and we got some free time, now would be a good time. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So I started sitting there thinking, it's like, well, where could we watch it? It's probably on Max or something like that, maybe. But then I got to re-up and shit like that. So what do? So I start looking around. I look on my Fandango at home or Vudu, and sure enough, there's a set. The entirety of the saga from The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings. I know The Hobbit gets a lot of shit, but anyway, the entirety of the saga, the extended editions, okay, everything. So we're talking like probably 24 hours worth of fucking content for $30.
Oh, damn.
How can you say, and 4K, mind you, how can you say no? So I didn't. I was like, all right, sold. Because we were talking about it.
Smart man.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and I was like, God damn. You're not going to beat that. And so they're doing a lot of others. So if you've got a digital library you want to build, I I'd go look over there because...
On a side note, Lord of the Rings related, just to talk about how much I love Ian McKellen real quick. They've been talking about wanting to do some other Lord of the Rings type stories. And this man is, I think, 85 now, if not damn near close. And he said, I'll play Gandalf as long as I'm living. He said, but I will tell you, if you want me to play him again, I would get to work pretty quick.
Well, it's no different than what was it, Harrison Ford was saying about Indiana Jones. Is like, I remember he I think it was after 4. I'm almost not too much long after, but somewhere in that middle ground where they were still talking about a 5. And he was like, George, if you wanted to make a Indiana Jones 5, I'll be there. But get on with it, man. It's like, I'm not getting any younger.
Well, and looking back at those movies, with Lord of the Rings, looking back at them, Gandalf gets some pretty good cardio. So,
yeah.
I'm sure he'd have to have a stunt guy at this point, but man, I never have the extra cash when the deals are going on for movies. But if I knew Lord of the Rings was going for that cheap, I'd have hopped right on that one, man.
Yeah. There were
some of my favorite movies.
There were a few others on there as well, just worth looking at. I saw like entire series of shows, like one of my favorites, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Futurama. The entire show, like I guess the full series, they're both available right now for like $20. That's like fucking insane, dude.
Speaking of TV shows, just real quick, just one little thing. I wonder what The Simpsons is going to do with Milhouse. Did you see the voice actress is retiring?
I did. Pamela Hayden. Yeah, she's stepping away, which I can't blame her, man. I mean, honestly, to God, I'm surprised most of them are still there because I'm sure it's a steady paycheck. They're getting bank. I mean, you can't tell me that the main casts are not making money hand over fist by now because when they negotiated that deal, when Fox was being like, they're like, no, you don't have a show without us, asshole.
They got that mouse money now, too.
That's right. So they know their worth, and I appreciated what they did because the voice actors in their position, they are voice actors who people have no fucking clue what their faces look like, which means they get disregarded. And I hear it all the time when you hear all these voice actors who are just fucking talent, man. Like, it blew my mind. I was listening to that same podcast that I was telling you about earlier, Jim Cummings' podcast, tuned in. He was talking to Jennifer Hale a week before, and she's another prolific voice actress who's done so many things. I didn't know she did voice swap for Ellen DeGeneres and does Dory. And when she just turned it on, my brain just broke because she's going, a boat? I saw a boat. And she sounds just like her coming out of her mouth. I'm like, what the fuck? It's insane how, like, there was even another guy, the guy who does Obi-Wan Kenobi, like how he can turn on his fucking Ewan McGregor and shit. It's just like, oh God, man. And that's what they get paid for. They get paid to go in and do the ADR and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've even had some of those actors point out, that was me. In this line, that was me. And you listen to it and you're like, okay, I'll take your word for it because I couldn't tell. It's insane.
It's just like Tom Hanks. He does Woody in the movies, but all of the dolls, all the video games, all that's his brother.
Yeah. And
you wouldn't know.
And that's kind of what Jennifer was saying about her as Dory. She's like, Ellen's the movies, I'm everything else. So I'm like Stunt Dory, as she called herself. But point I was trying to make is these are talented people who can do all this shit. And for whatever reason, Hollywood, the producers, the people with the money, they don't feel like they are worth paying them the money. Even though you hear what they are capable of with their voices. And yet they always want to go, well, let's get Leonardo DiCaprio to come in here and do a voice. Why? He's an on-screen talent. Get a voice actor. That is what their job is, Dick. I don't get it. It really makes zero sense. Why do you need voice actors?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or why do you need actors for voice acting? That's what. Or
right.
On screen, it's acting. God damn it. I'm trying to get out of this hole. Voice acting is acting. I know this, but why do you need on-screen actors for voice acting when you have more talented voice actors than actors? I got it. Thank you. Hey, let's talk about a movie.
Let's do that. The Eli Roth directed and also partially written by, along with Jeff, I think it's Rendell. We're talking about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Long overdue, I think. I know I say long overdue in the sense that it only came out last year, but I think we wanted to talk about it sometime last year, and we really couldn't get our hands on seeing it, and I don't know, it was bad timing, pretty much. So this fixes that. And this is based on, if no one is aware, because I was unaware until I did my research, this is based on a segment in Grindhouse, which was this big 4-hour. Is it 4 hour? It was about a 4 hour. It was
like two movies back to back, and then they had all these like movie ads and things in between. I think Death Proof was
Death Proof and
part of that.
Planet Terror.
They did, and that was like the zombie thing, and then they had all this stuff in between, and they had like a mock movie trailer of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
and it was actually the scene that everybody remembered the most was when the girl was jumping on the trampoline and he shoves the knife up through. Difference between that and the movie, she actually does the splits on the knife in the trailer.
Yeah. So
fun
stuff. And it makes you kind of wonder, or at least for me, where they realized they actually had an idea worth expanding. Because they did that back in 2007, so it took them a good, 13 years or so? I'm doing math.
Yeah.
Maybe it's math. It's
something like that.
16. That sounds better. 16 years. So it took them about that long to put this together. What do you think, man? Because I was impressed. I'm going to say that from the start. I had low expectations because you look at it from the outside and you're like, a movie, Thanksgiving, he's a pilgrim killer. Okay, fuck you. You know, it kind of comes off like in the trailer. You know, this Grindhouse trailer of, okay, sure, I can't take it seriously because this is going to be ridiculous. But they sell it, man. They fucking sell it.
I went in with no expectations. I had no idea what to think of this film going into it. To me, it felt like a cross between an 80s and a 90s horror film. It had a lot of the slasher type things that I love from 80s films, but I feel like 90s horror films were a little more campy than 80s horror in some ways, because I think they were trying to live up to 80s horror, and that made them kind of campy. And there were a lot of parts of this movie that I felt were kind of campy,
sure,
but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like it fed into the film. Spoiler warning for anybody, I would like to see Patrick Dempsey as a bad guy more often.
Sure, yeah.
I actually really liked him as the villain in this. And the twist in it, I thought was great. And I felt bad for him. And in the end of it, I kind of felt bad for him because for anybody that doesn't know, it's Black Friday gone wrong, which has actually happened before. But this is like gone wrong on steroids. Like people are getting the shit tore out of them.
What's funny about it, though, is everything about it did not feel disingenuous. Like,
no,
I felt like every bit of that could genuinely happen. And that's what felt more terrifying about it, you know? Because, that opening scene, that whole Black Friday chaos, you can see it happening. Like, we have seen those videos, not to this degree, I mean, that we know of, but,
right.
I mean, we've seen those fucking videos where people are just losing their goddamn minds over shit. So when you see how they played all of these scenes, like everything in this, like that one guy that came in and cut his neck on the glass, fucking bled out on a pallet holding a waffle iron, and bitch just comes and takes it and walks off, like not even giving a shit about him. Like that level of not giving a shit. You're just like, what the fuck? But at the same time, yeah, I believe it.
Well, it was just like when the lady's rushing with her cart and she cracks the lady in the head.
Yeah. Ugh.
Painful scene, but I could see somebody. Yeah, that I'm watching that like, oh. You could see that stuff legitimately happening and people just not caring. And that's one thing that I really think sells the movie is just how fucking nuts people are.
Yeah. And again, the sell of the terror in that is what really felt like I appreciated that they didn't pull back. They didn't try to Like, I'm sure they could have taken it a step further and maybe made it even more extreme, but I felt like even in the confines of what the chaos that was happening, it felt legitimately real. And that was the terrifying part of it. Nothing about it felt fantastic.
No, and I think that was the angle that they wanted to go with, because that kind of hooks you there. Even in the beginning when everybody's, together and everything, and the one guy's like, yeah, I got called in, I got to work. Like, that's very real.
Sure.
and so that kind of pulls you in, like, man, like, this is really how people freaking are. Mm-hmm. It's not cool, but it's the truth.
I'll also give a little credit to them and just this opening, like everything before the opening title. Okay, I feel like there's a lot going on, and they're really setting everything up for later, or just for the film itself. So much so that I want to say that it felt like a little too much at first, because I will say this is my second time watching it, so I'm kind of have like this extra, like I was observing it from a different angle this time, trying to see if there's any cracks in the seam, so to speak, as far as like trying to figure out what's happening and if there's any plot holes or something that doesn't add up. And with all of this is happening here, I remember when I watched it the first time, I wasn't sure who was who and like what relationships were happening. Like Gina Gershon's character, I was like, so she's married to the store manager, but then there's another family, the guy that owns a store, and then his wife, and then you got the daughter, and then she's dating this guy, and then this person over here is related to that guy, and just like you have so many relationships and so many people, and I was like trying to keep track of who's who and who's related to who and all that. But eventually it gets sifted out and everything kind of comes. It just felt like a lot at first. But again, the chaos, I feel like it works for that as well. So I'm giving it a pass for that because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's certain parts of the film where it gets like a little, the water gets a little muddy, per se. But as you said, it kind of all sorts itself out the way that it works. And I was able to forgive it for being a little messy in certain spots, because I feel like it is a little messy in some areas, but there's nothing that really deters you from following the story.
Right.
I don't think. And the visual effects in it, I love, and that was like a big thing for me. I also just want to point out that they did something from Scream that really made me enjoy Scream. The killer doesn't have his own unique costume or anything like that. It's something everybody's wearing.
Yeah.
I love that concept, because to me that's scarier than, knowing what the killer looks like, what they're wearing.
Yeah.
If they look like everybody else, it's real easy for them to get away and for them to sneak up on you. And even the scene, like, the gore in the opening, I didn't think was like too over the top.
Maybe save for the hair.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I was like,
but you get to the first like murder when he, and I love that they make the killer smart.
Yeah.
Cuts the woman's hand, puts her in the water so that she's all wet so that he can stick her to the freezer door. And then she rips off the brutal to watch, great effect. And when she runs into the closet, it was a little detail, but I love little details. When she's trying to get into her phone and there's blood all over it and she can't swipe it, and she tries to do the face recognition, but her face is all fucked up so it doesn't recognize her. It's one of those little things where I'm just like, chef's kiss, like it's a dumb little detail, but I'm like, that's hilarious that's what is happening.
See, here's another dumb little detail that they should have thought about, because my wife said this. She's like, why isn't she wiping it on her clothes? And I said the same thing.
And I think a lot of it had to do just with the panic.
Sure. But, I mean, even still, like, if she'd have done this and it was maybe just like blood smeared, like she just made it worse, fair. Then you could be like, all right, you just made it fucking worse.
Yeah. Well, and I think it just shows, because in the beginning she was, an ass. She made poor decisions with what she did. Those poor decisions would come into her normal everyday life and into situations like this.
Right.
I love the dumpster cutting her in half.
It was so quick and just like boom over, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I actually when I was watching it, I actually rewound that to watch it again, because we're like, what the fuck just happened?
It was so quick.
And just the weight of it coming down, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I like the whole angle of posting it up. Like the killer's posting everything up, like taunting these kids.
Which I felt like that entire the dinner scene, that whole thing right there, that was like straight out of fucking Happy Birthday to Me, where she had them all lined up around. I was like, all right, I see what you're doing. So a little paying homage to some classics I liked. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, and even the scene, is it Kathleen that gets baked in the oven?
Kathleen? Yes.
So, that whole scene, you think she's going to escape, and he throws the pitchfork and wham, gets her, puts her in the oven. I love how he opens she thinks there's a moment of hope, and he opens, she thinks he's had a change of heart, and he opens the door just to stab her with one of those thermometers. Yeah. I have a morbid sense of humor, so that made me laugh my ass off. I thought it was funny. And then when she finally, she breathes that last breath out, and then the little thing goes, boop.
Yeah.
Oh, we're done. Like, terrific. Just terrific.
So I want to ask you something.
Yes.
All right, so since they did do a mock trailer for this, had no intentions of turning this into a horror film at the time, I'm sure. However, as we've seen, out of the Grindhouse, there have been other movies made from those shorts, like Machete. What was it? There was another one. God damn it, I know there was another one. It's not Machete. What the fuck is the other one? I can't remember. Shit. There was another one. Hobo with a shotgun. Ha-ha! I remembered. Ha-ha. Point being, so they got around to this. I have not seen those, so I don't have anything to compare them to. But
yeah,
one thing that I noticed about this story, and even kind of playing back to the trailer, as you mentioned, it's almost as if they were trying to create a movie with the stuff from the trailer in this movie. So it's almost like, well, we have to add this and we have to add that because it was in the trailer and people are going to expect that. Do you feel like that maybe stifled some of their creativity on things that they could have done because they felt the need to include these scenes?
I don't necessarily think that it stifled it. I think they made it just different enough to where it was still its own thing, but it's still sort of, because if you go back and you watch the mock trailer that they did, I think the girl's outside on the trampoline in it. I think her boyfriend gets his throat slit, and you don't see much of it, and then you just see the killer kind of walking around a little bit. Like I don't think you really see everything like shot for shot the same as in this full movie they did. I think they took that mock trailer and they used some of the scenes as inspiration for it. The only thing with like the biggest scene that I was waiting for, that I was kind of let down because I wish they would have done just like the trailer, was legitimately when the girl was jumping on the trampoline. I always say this, they always do nut shots in horror movies. The women don't get it in the horror movies.
Rarely.
They get stabbed a different kind of way in horror movies. That was a bad joke. But I kind of wish they would have stuck with that because I think that would have been, I think that would have been great for the shock value of it. But I think they kind of decided, like, let's not shoot this shot for shot like we did the trailer, but let's use this for some inspiration. So the fact that the boyfriend's head got completely turned around, I think that's where they added the shock value, which did not happen in the trailer. But I, like, for me, I loved that scene in particular, and I love how they kind of zoom in on his face after his head's been completely turned around, and his eyes are kind of like twitching a little, and there's blood coming out of his nose and everything. So yeah, no, I don't necessarily think that it stifled anything. I'm kind of glad that they kind of paid a little bit of tribute to that trailer because this movie did come out years and years after that mock trailer. Sure. So to have a little bit of that, I think it would be kind of fun for some people who didn't realize this was inspired from that Grindhouse trailer. I think people could go back and watch that trailer and be like, oh, that's why they did that in the movie. And I feel like it would just add for some people.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I was even kind of pondering that is because there are scenes from the trailer, and then you see them here. There was one line specifically that when we were watching it last night, Katrina I turned as soon as he said it, and I could just hear her giggling. And I was like, what? And she's like, that's such a corny line. I was like, yeah, but they said it in the trailer, I'm sure. And it was the, this year there will be no leftovers. And she's like, why the fuck did he say that? That was just so corny. And I was like, I'm sure they said it in the trailer, so this is like, well, we have to put it here. We have to say it so people won't be upset.
Well, and to me, honestly, the best horror films have a few like corny moments that kind of make you laugh, because I feel like that's the best thing to do in a horror film, to really get somebody's guard down, make them laugh a little bit, and then have the big reveal. Like I said, I liked that. I like that the sheriff ended up being the villain in this movie. I think that he kind of explained what his motive was, and he was going to have somebody else take the blame, and this, that, and the other. But him being the sheriff, I think, kind of answered some of the other questions that I had. They briefly talk about, well, we can't track him. We don't know where he's at. He's doing things from different locations, and this, that, and the other. As the film goes on, I hear them talk about these things, and I'm like thinking to myself, somebody in law enforcement would understand that. I don't think this kid that they think is the killer, I don't think that he would understand how to do that. So I got through the film, and I had already had my thoughts that the sheriff was the killer. But I was sitting there going, what's his motive? That's the only thing that... And then I go back to the line in the beginning when he's talking to the woman in the beginning, and she makes the comment about, you won't be single long. And I'm like, was there something going on there? And then they explain it, and then you find out that there's this much deeper level of it where... he was expecting a child with this lady and everything else. And, I do feel like some of the kids kind of, I know this sounds awful, I think some of the kids did deserve what they got. Oh. Because they were just assholes.
Yeah, there was that one kid, like, I wanted to smack him upside his, well, but two of them. The one that was her new boyfriend, because he was a dick right out the gate. And then the one jock asshole that recorded every damn thing. He's like, I didn't
the one that gets
anything, man.
The one that gets his head bashed in.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, he was a prick. I didn't like him.
Yeah, like the main girl in this, how do you say her last name? Nell...
Verlac? Verlac? Hey, that sounds right.
Let's just do that. If it's wrong, please let us know.
No one will.
Her character, Jessica, I liked her character. I didn't think her character deserved...
No, I don't really know what her character did other than just be the daughter of the guy who owned the fucking store.
Well, and she was there that night, and I don't think she wanted to be there. No. Her and her boyfriend did not want to be there.
No.
And just to point out, her boyfriend in the beginning, when he gets his arm stepped on, and it like all scrunches up crazy. Am I the only one that thought that was like over dramatic, the way that they did it? Like how much it actually snapped?
Yeah, it just kind of like...
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It don't get me wrong, I get it's for the effect, but yeah, I wish they would have kind of, I wanted just a few like minor details as to how the sheriff executed certain things, like a little flashback about him drugging the boyfriend, and how he was going to make that I know he was going to shoot him and be like, I stopped him, he was the killer. Like, good enough, I get that.
Yeah,
but show me a little bit of the process. And I know this sounds awful, my biggest complaint, and I do want to talk about another death, and I want you to give me whatever opinions you have as well, but one of my biggest things about this film that drove me crazy, I really like Rick Hoffman.
Yeah.
I wish he would have had a bigger role.
Well, he might get his chance.
Because he is hilarious, and I love him. There's a, I don't know if it's, it might be Suits maybe, or there's a show where he's a lawyer. And he's like the biggest asshole in the world, but like you have moments in it where he's in a guy's office getting ready to yell at him, and the guy has a cat. He's like, I know we're not supposed to have cats. He's like, no. Who is this bundle of joy that you've brought into the office? And he's like, I'm a cat owner myself. And like, hilarious guy. And I really loved his performance in this. The scene where they're serving him his wife and he's throwing up, that's really fucking real.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's pretty rough.
Go ahead and give me some opinions on some things. I feel like I'm just blathering away here.
I mean, no, I was kind of really, like I said, just surprised how much I enjoyed it, because I kind of kept my expectations low, but there seemed to be an energy about it that felt familiar, like, I don't know, like it was tapping into slashers, other favorites that I've had, where the energy is just right. You're just kind of intrigued enough, and you're like, all right, I'm trying to figure this out. And even the killer being the sheriff, like I said, I watched it with that knowledge, trying to see if there was any issues with how, he would be there 1 minute and then he disappears, and then he's there 1 minute and then the killer appears. Is there any point in time where that doesn't work? And I couldn't tell you that there was ever an overlap that just seemed questionable. Like everything always seemed to line up, or the cut would be just so to where time had passed and you'd be like, okay, so maybe a few hours had gone by and here he is now. It makes sense. Yeah. So nothing I could ever see ever felt out of place. That whole fucking Black Friday incident must have, this guy either was unhinged from the start and that just broke him, or that whole incident just cracked his brain wide open and turned him into a nut job. I don't know which, but to go to this degree, you cooked a fucking woman alive. Damn, dude. I mean, that's not just shooting somebody. You fucking went out of your way to roast a woman alive. You are unhinged, okay? Beyond unhinged. So, I don't know how straight his brain was to begin with.
Good point.
Just
good
saying.
Point.
But, no, I mean, a lot of the stuff that was happening within the film, I really appreciate a lot of it. Nothing felt like I couldn't find any weaknesses with the structure of the plot, and even the tension from the parade. I think that was another great scene, kind of based on what you were talking about earlier, where everybody has the mask. So then you have that tension of looking. It's like, could that be him? Could that be him? I don't know, and we don't know. And then he just comes out of fucking nowhere in a costume that is not even the costume everyone was looking for, and I was like, primo.
I was wondering in that moment what happened, and then the clown. I'm like, as soon as he comes up in the clown costume, I'm like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing, man. I see what you're doing.
Which is clever.
I will say this movie kind of made me hate the little corn holders.
Oh yeah, right in the ear.
and he has really good hand-eye coordination, especially in a mask, because if I tried to do that with a mask on. One would be in your ear, the other one would be up here somewhere in your hair, probably, knowing me. And then to just throw her on the table saw, I mean, brutal, just brutal. And the boyfriend, I felt bad for the guy. He's like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? What do I do? I'm like, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking out loud while I'm watching it. I was watching it by myself down in our front room, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, not much you can do there, bud.
Yeah, I was saying, I was like, it's over, it's done, you can't do shit, just fucking go, dude. Just let it go.
and it amazes me because I think the thing that makes the sheriff so likable as the character, I compared him to other slashers. Like you said, he pulls from others. He toys with his victims like Freddy does. He's very hands-on like Jason is. He can use weapons very well. He's a lot stronger than you think he would be.
Yeah.
As well. To be able to turn that guy's head completely around, I mean, that's gonna take some strength.
Sure.
And then he kind of reminded me of and it's not just because of the cooking the woman, but he kind of reminded me of Hannibal Lecter in the sense that he was also very cold and calculated.
Yeah, very.
Like Hannibal. Not so much about the cooking the people or any of that, but how cold and calculated he is, using the tranq darts on people, having a plan. He's a scary guy.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a note that I was trying to keep in my head that I wanted to bring up today, is if you pay attention to how he operates within each kill and each time you see him, I feel like there are hints that give you clues that it is the sheriff if you pay close attention. Yeah. It's not obvious from the start, because I feel like the starter kill was just all right, kind of getting you familiar with him, not really any kind of clues to go on. And then as you kind of see him operate, it's what he does or how he sets up the situation. And like you said, the dart gun, I thought that was a very specific thing, because if he was a cold killer that had no plan, he would just off everybody. If he was a Jason, it was like, well, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, doesn't matter. But he used tranq darts, because I'm not going to kill him, but I'm going to kill this one. So that already kind of gives you a sense that he has a code of sorts. Yeah. Like with the cat. I felt like when he went back and fed the cat and pet it, that showed compassion. So you see that he can be a compassionate person. I felt like there were all these little clues kind of peppered around that if you pay close attention, they're telling you who it is, or at least giving you enough clues to deduce it, because it has to be someone who gives a shit about other people.
Yeah. I have to ask real quick on a side note. You watched this with Katrina, right? Was she worried for a second about the cat?
Not surprisingly, because when he looked back at it and he kind of tilted, I expected to hear, "Oh, don't hurt the kitty," because that would be her normal reaction, but she didn't. And then I heard, "Oh, he fed the cat."
I had to ask because I know how she is with animals and everything. Yeah, when I'm sitting there watching it, I'm like, "What's going on here?" And then he feeds the cat, and I'm like, "Okay." Okay.
So, like I said, I feel like there are those clues in there. They're subtle, but again, you can immediately deduce several characters in the movie just with those little details, because you think about these selfish people. Who gives a shit about only them? And there are a lot of people in that movie who only seem to give a shit about themselves. So as soon as you eliminate most of those people, you can pretty much figure out it's the sheriff at that point.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying, if he was just a cold, calculated kill, if he wasn't the cold, calculated killer that he is in it, he would just be killing everybody.
Yeah.
And this is legitimately a slasher / revenge film.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because that's what he's out for. He's out for revenge, and it's like he's still able to be that good person, feeding the cat, taking care of some of the community during everything. And then he only brings out his psycho part of himself when there are either people in his way of who he's trying to get, or when he's just trying to get revenge on someone. I love I know we talked about the parade scene, but I love the fact that the guy that was dressed as the turkey got decapitated.
Yeah.
Like just a little thing I want to put out there. And I know that they're talking about making a sequel to this. And my thing is, they don't really show. I don't think they don't show his body being pulled out, do they? I can't remember if they do. Like they didn't wrap him in like the turkey stuff.
No, I don't think so, because they made mention, or at least the implication was, that the explosion was just so massive and so intense that there's no body, and it was apparently incinerated. But
so if he comes back and he's like burned up and getting revenge, and they have an opportunity to still let him be that kind of cold, calculated killer, but at the same time, he's not going to have all the resources that he had before.
Right.
So to see him be a little more brutal, and instead of using like dart guns, he's knocking people out, stuff like that. I could get behind that. Of course, I hope if they do a sequel, I hope that he feeds somebody their own body, because that would just be brutal for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: is this a movie that you would like? Thanksgiving time comes around, you're like, we're gonna watch Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving's coming, or is this something that you would just be like, it's a random Wednesday in September, I'm gonna watch Thanksgiving?
I mean, I feel like it could easily be a fun horror movie to add to Thanksgiving rotations, because I don't feel like there are a lot of Thanksgiving themed movies. There are a few, I mean, obviously, and I would even say if you wanted another Thanksgiving-esque horror movie that's, for some reason, people are kind of attaching to it, Blood Rage has suddenly wound up on that list. Okay. But considering that there are not a lot, I think it would be fun to kind of add to it. But at the same time, I feel like I could watch this anytime. I feel like it's a slasher that doesn't... It's not like a Halloween slasher, but I guess it'd be in the slasher, the Halloween vein, in the sense that I could watch it anytime, but I might prefer to watch it more around the holiday. You know what I mean? But if I did watch it maybe in March or an April or something like that, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't watch it. I could still enjoy it. So, yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to do it, but I might subconsciously.
Now, I don't know about you, but I hope if they do a sequel, I hope they kind of wrap it up in a nice bow, because I feel like if this is something that you try to turn into a franchise, it's going to become kind of like Scream, and it's going to be the same retired tropes. I wouldn't care if he had a partner maybe in the next one to some degree, but let's not make it a thing where it's, constant. Let's keep adding people. Let's keep, this image up to maybe have one person help him. I could possibly see, but I'm hoping that, whatever they do for the sequel, I kind of hope they wrap it up nicely, because not every movie needs to have, 6 sequels,
Mm-hmm.
Give us 1 or 2 really good films and let us enjoy those.
Yeah. So based on everything that I've heard, because I'm in the same vein, I don't know if I want a sequel, because I'm afraid, like what you said, I'm afraid it'll go down a path where it just becomes Scream or something of that nature. Like, I don't know how you keep doing this, without it becoming rote or just the same old tired shtick. How do you even keep Patrick Dempsey if you're going to keep him as the killer? Do you change that up? I don't know. I feel like this, as it is, if we don't get a sequel, which we are, I know we are, but if we weren't, I wouldn't feel bad about it. But I have heard there is a sequel coming. As I am aware, what's her name? The main girl whose name you said? Jessica. What's her real name is Nell
Verlaque.
Verlaque. How about Verlaque? That look better. Verlaque. Okay, so she is coming back. Rick Hoffman is coming back, and I think Addison Rae is coming back. So those are at least 3 names I am aware of that are returning. It's supposed to come out next year. We'll see, but I don't know anything beyond that. Is that they're
and
working
see,
on it.
I wonder if they'll do it. I wonder if they'll do it as a sequel that takes place like so many years after, like a year after, or if it'll be like we're gonna pick up right where we left off.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know where you go from here, because obviously he's out and about, but it's just a matter of, is she going to be haunted by this? Is it always going to be like stuck in her head? Is he going to come back for more revenge because he didn't get her and her dad? I don't know.
Yeah. And hopefully it's not one of those things where she like loses her mind or something, and like it becomes some psychological thing where she's killing people thinking that, ooh, that would be nuts. Not in a good way. I don't know. I'm gonna put a pin in that one for the time being, but
yeah.
I don't know. I actually enjoyed this. Like I said, I ended up buying it. It's cheap right now. I think it's gonna be on sale for quite a while. You can get it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's out there if you want. Like I said, it's on Netflix. We had, for some reason, I'll even say this, because I don't know if it's Netflix itself or something else, but we were struggling to watch that movie last night. It kept being choppy, so I don't know if it was Netflix or didn't seem like my service, because everything else was working like on any other damn channel or whatever, but I don't know. It's everywhere. You can find it. It's not hard to find, or at least not right now. It's not. Just
look it up online.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have anything else on the movie at the moment. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, so definitely something I think I'll probably revisit. I think it's one of those things where now I'm gonna watch it with the goal to possibly pick up on some things and see if I can, be like, here's where you can tell he's the killer.
And hey, I'll give it credit. I mean, for a second rewatch, and it still seemed like a lot of fun. That to me is always a great sign. Like, you can watch it the second time and be like, all right, I'm digging it. Like, I've kind of wanted to go back and watch Twisters. Like, I mentioned that earlier. And as soon as I got done with it, I was like, I actually kind of enjoyed that. That was kind of fun. Kind of wanted to go back and watch it. So I might do that. You never know. But for now, anybody, if you've seen Ramblers, if you've seen Thanksgiving, let us know on social media, wherever we are. We're spreading out. I'm getting off of, I'm a little head up for people. I'm stepping away from Twitter. So if you don't see me active on there, I'm going to leave my account there. But I don't want to be on fucking Twitter anymore. It's just, god damn. You know what I mean? So don't at me at Twitter, because I'm not going to pay attention. But anywhere else you can. So just so you're aware. But anyway, if you want to send us an email, you can do that, horrorramblings@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you do your socials and what have you. Or you can find us over on Spotify and leave us a 5-star over there, or even on Apple. And you can see if we posted up any questions and polls. I know I did last week and asked, hey, what was your favorite Ghoulies movie? I don't know. What is your favorite Ghoulies movie? Did you answer? Probably not, but it's okay. Anyway, finally, keep up with any and all things over at pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings. Links are in the show notes for your convenience.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there, and happy Thanksgiving.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.